Where is Danny? Where is Danny? It's time to read. It's time to read. Let's all watch together. Let's all watch together. What story will it be? What story will it be? Danny!
Hi everybody and welcome to Danny Duck's Book Club with me, Shannon, and Danny the Duck. Here he is now. He's still in his pyjamas as he always is on a Wednesday. He has a bit of a lazy day, but we're going to get him ready to go because we're ready to read some stories today. So Danny, today we are looking at a book that I have called Roald Dahl's Treasury. Now this has lots of short stories written by Roald Dahl and poems and little bits from some of his bigger stories like Fantastic Mr. Fox and The Witches. It's a really cool book and I wanted to share some of the stories from it with you today. Before we start, I thought we could share some facts about Roald Dahl because he was quite an interesting guy. So first of all is in World War II he was a fighter pilot and he was also a spy, which is pretty cool. The second fact that we have found about him this week is the story The BFG, or The Big Friendly Giant, was written for his granddaughter Sophie, who is also the name of the little girl who features in the story. So Sophie was based after his granddaughter Sophie, and the character of the BFG was based after Roald Dahl himself, which is quite cool because he was a very tall fellow who was over 6'6" tall. So my third fact is that he created over 250 brand new words in his story. Now I have some favourites, I've got them written down here. So my three favourites are all from the BFG because that was my favourite story when I grew up. So they are Snoscumber, Frobscottle and Whizpopper. Now can you think of any made up words that you've heard in a Roald Dahl story? There's lots of them to pick from, over 250. So if you can think of one, let us know. I hope you enjoy the stories today. Today is one of the last episodes in November, so we will be moving on to some festive stories soon. For those of you who celebrate Christmas, we will be doing some Christmas stories, as well as just some general wintertime tales as well. So I hope you enjoy our Roald Dahl Treasury special episode. Hi everybody, so we're going to start with our first story from the Roald Dahl's Treasury, which is The Three Little Pigs. Now this is from Revolting Rhymes, so some of our junior students may have studied this in class. The animal I really dig above all others is the pig. Pigs are noble, pigs are clever, pigs are courteous, however. Now and then, to break this rule, one meets a pig who is a fool. What, for example, would you say if strolling through the woods one day, right there in front of you saw a pig who'd built his house of straw? The wolf who saw it licked his lips and said, "That pig has had his chips. Little pig, let me come in. No, no, by the hairs on my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in." The little pig began to pray, but Wolfie blew his house away. He shouted, "Bacon, pork and ham, oh what a lucky wolf I am." And though he ate the pig quite fast, he kept the tail and saved it till last. Wolf wandered on a trifle bloated. Surprise, surprise, for soon he noted another little house for pigs, and this one had been built of twigs. Little pig, let me come in. No, no, by the hairs on my chinny chin chin. Then I'll huff and I'll puff and I'll blow your house in. The wolf said, "Okay, here we go." He then began to blow and blow. The little pig began to squeal. He cried, "Oh, wolf, you've had one meal. Why can't we talk and make a deal?" The wolf replied, "Not on your Nelly," and soon the pig was in his belly. "Two juicy little pigs," wolf cried, "but still I am not satisfied. I know full well my tummy's bulging, but oh, how I adore indulging." So creeping quietly as a mouse, the wolf approached another house. a house which also had inside a little piggy trying to hide. But this one, piggy number 3, was brainy and bright as could be. So let's see what happens. It might be a little different from what you remember from the original story of the 3 little pigs. No straw for him, no twigs or sticks. This pig had built his house of bricks. You'll not get me, the piggy cried. I'll blow you down, the wolf replied. You'll need, pig said, a lot of puff, and I don't think you've got enough. Wolf huffed and puffed and blew. The house stayed up as good as new. If I can't blow it down, Wolf said, I'll have to blow it up instead. I'll come back in the dead of night and blow it up with dynamite. Pig cried, you brute, I might have known. Then picking up the telephone, he dialed as quickly as he could the number of Red Riding Hood. Hello, she said. Who's speaking? Who? Oh, hello, Piggy, how do you do? Pig cried, I need your help, Miss Hood. Oh, help me, please, do you think you could? I'll try, of course, Miss Hood replied. What's on your mind? A wolf, Pig cried. I know you've dealt with wolves before, and now I've got one at my door. My darling pig, she said, my sweet, that's something that's really up my street. I've just begun to wash my hair, but when it's dry, I'll be right there. A short while later, through the wood, came striding brave Miss Riding Hood. The wolf stood there, his eyes ablaze, and yellowish like mayonnaise. His teeth were sharp, his gums were raw, and spit was dripping from his jaw. Once more the maiden's eyelid flickers. She drew a pistol from her knickers. Once more she hit the vital spot and killed him with a single shot. And peeping through the window, the pig stood and yelled, Well done, Miss Riding Hood. But Piglet, you must never trust young ladies from the upper crust. For now, Miss Riding Hood, one notes, not only has 2 wolfskin coats, but when she goes from place to place, she has a pigskin travelling case. So I guess it turns out that little Miss Riding Hood wasn't as nice as we thought she was. Okay, and now we're going to find out a little bit more about how Little Red Riding Hood became so mischievous. So we're going to read the story of Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. This is another revolting rhyme, and it's set just before 3 Little Pigs. As soon as Wolf began to feel that he would like a decent meal, he went and knocked on Grandma's door. When Grandma opened it, she saw the sharp white teeth, the horrid grin, and Wolfie said, May I come in? Poor Grandmama was terrified. He's going to eat me up, she cried. And she was absolutely right. He ate her up in one big bite. Here he is in Grandma's clothes. But Grandmama was small and tough, and Wolfie wailed, That's not enough. I haven't yet begun to feel that I have had a decent meal. He ran around the kitchen yelping, I've got to have a second helping. Then added with a frightful leer, I'm therefore going to wait right here till little Miss Red Riding Hood comes home from walking in the wood. He quickly put on Grandma's clothes. Of course, he hadn't eaten those. He dressed himself in coat and hat. He put on shoes, and after that, he even brushed and curled his hair and sat himself in Grandma's chair. In came this little girl in red. She stopped, she stared, and then she said, What great big ears you have, Grandma! All the better to hear you with, the wolf replied. What great big eyes you have, Grandma! Said Little Red Riding Hood. All the better to see you with, the wolf replied. He sat there watching her and smiled. He thought, I'm going to eat this child. Compared with her old grandmama, she's going to taste like caviar. Then Little Red Riding Hood said, But Grandma, what a lovely great big furry coat you have on. That's wrong, said Wolf. Have you forgot to tell me what big teeth I've got? Well, no matter what you say, I'm going to eat you anyway. The small girl smiles, one eyelid flickers. I think you might know what's coming next. She whips a pistol from her knickers. She aims it at the creature's head and bang, bang, bang! She shoots him dead. A few weeks later in the wood, I came across Miss Riding Hood. But what a change! No cloak of red, no silly hood upon her head. She said, "Hello, and do please note my lovely furry wolfskin coat." And that's the end. That's how we find out how Little Red Riding Hood becomes the feisty girl that she is. So I hope you enjoyed that story, everyone. And we're going to have one more today. And for our third story, I've picked one of my favourite poems from the Roald Dahl Treasury. So this is just a little short one that I thought you'd all enjoy. It's about a crocodile. It's called The Crocodile. And it's from his book called Dirty Beasts. No animal is half so vile as Crocky-Wock the crocodile. On Saturdays he likes to crunch 6 juicy children for his lunch. And he especially enjoys just 3 of each, 3 girls, 3 boys. He smears the boys to make them hot with mustard from the mustard pot. But mustard doesn't go with girls. It tastes all wrong with plaits and curls. With them what goes extremely well is butterscotch and caramel. Here he is with the children. It's such a marvellous treat when boys are hot and girls are sweet. At least that's Crocky's point of view. He ought to know, he's had a few. That's all for now, it's time for bed. Lay down and rest your sleepy head. Shh, listen, what's that I hear? Galump thinks softly up the stair. Go lock the door and fetch my gun. Come on, child, hurry, quickly run. No, stop, stand back, he's coming in. Oh, look, that greasy, grinnish grin, that shining teeth, that greedy smile. It's Crocky-Wock the crocodile. What do we think of Crocky-Wock the crocodile so far? Did any of you ever meet a lady called Miss Violet Treat? She lived in Rigby Hall so grand, with lots of servants, lots of land. Oh, she was rich, oh, she was fine, with cars galore and heaps of wine. Now with the rich there is a rule, they always build a swimming pool. They also like, don't ask me why, to go into shops and buy most curious and expensive pets like chimpanzees and marmosets. Miss Treat did all of this and more. She dug up all the library floor and built a pool of gold and green. No finer pool was ever seen. Into this pool she put, don't smile, a tame and friendly crocodile. And every day she used to swim with Crocky-Wock and play with him. And that's the end. It's just a little silly poem about a crocodile, which I think is really nice. It's not something many people know is by Roald Dahl. So I hope you enjoyed our 3 stories today, everybody, from Roald Dahl's Treasury. Hi everybody, I hope you enjoyed those 3 stories. Today we heard 2 revolting rhymes, which was The 3 Little Pigs and Little Red Riding Hood and the Wolf. And we also heard his short poem story, we'll say, because it's a little bit longer than a regular poem, called The Crocodile. Now lots of that story is in unpublished pages that were found in Roald Dahl's home, so you might not have heard that story before, which is quite exciting, so I hope you did enjoy it. There's lots of cool Roald Dahl activities that you can do. There's so many of them. I'm going to be sharing some of them on the page this week in the group for you to give a go, including some recipes that you can try if you like cooking and baking, and also some arts and crafts, because Roald Dahl is one of my favourite authors. This is one of our last episodes in November, so we are moving on now into December to some wintry themed things and away from autumn and pumpkins and all that wonderful thing that we've been doing for the last few weeks. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and we will see you next Wednesday at 4:30 p.m. for another episode of Danny Duck's Book Club. Bye everyone! Goodbye, goodbye everyone. I sure hope that you had fun. We'll be back another day to laugh and dance and sing and play. Goodbye, goodbye everyone. I sure hope that you had fun.